Hi, I'm Ben Province and welcome to Show Me the Music. On today's show, we'll get to hear from rapper Mike Reel. But first, let's get to know the Trophy Mules.
With a diamond surprise, understand.
No Sooner Than the Moon is the band's third proper release, following 2016's Sunset Collapse EP and their debut album, Sorry Motel, which came out in 2012. With a decade separating the group's two full-length albums, it makes sense that the St. Louis area band wanted to try something different. The record doesn't lean as heavily on country and Americana as its predecessors, with the band supplementing its sound with vocal effects and guitar tones reminiscent of 70s classic rock. But those familiar with the Trophy Mules will still recognize the band's signature sound. What inspired a little bit of an a new artistic direction for the band?
I'd just say it was kind of where we were at, where we were going with this collection of musicians. Some were new and some had been around prior. We just kind of, wanted to do something a little bit different than the straight Americana country folk sound. We wanted to kind of add a little bit more mystery to it, I guess.
Yeah. And Josh Keane, one of your bandmates, he wrote 3 of the songs on the record. You wrote 9. Talk about that process for splitting up the album more as a band record, too.
Right. Well, we both, Josh and I both have a good catalog of songs. And when he was first coming on board with us a handful of years ago, he kind of sent me some of his songs, and I was listening to them, and I kind of thought the 3 we used in this one were merging the best with the ones I had planned for this album. So it was just, kind of picking the sound that we wanted for this to display this time.
And one of his is Sense of Me.
And I don't care what time it is or where I am or where I'm coming from. Take my hand and follow me.
Oh, it's a beautiful song. We always joke that it's kind of like an Eagles song. Take It to the Limit, I think, is the one we joke with him. But hey, that's a good comparison. But yeah, it's just it's him pouring out some emotions there, and I thought it fit with our vibe for this album. So that's where we went.
And let's go to one of yours, Chupacabra Valentine. That's quite a title.
Yes. So that is in the songwriting process. I wrote the music for it, and for a while I'm strumming on it, and you kind of do a whisper track with it, or you kind of hum something of a melody, and the first 2 words that kind of came out were Chupacabra Valentine. I built around that and kind of fused a meaning for it, kind of a dark, mysterious romance.
What more could I possibly ask for? A false escape far and away from this.
It's been a few years between releases, and I wanted to give you a chance to explain why.
Yes. So I had some health issues with my singing from the last EP to this one that caused some throat issues that I had to get right, and then COVID happened too, so that kind of really slowed down our interactions amongst the band and practicing and everything. So that's really why it took so long.
And I know this is in certain ways a departure, especially with the new production techniques, but Cure for the Common Blues, I mean, that's a folky country song.
Right. Well, yeah, we didn't totally abandon it, but we wanted to sprinkle in a little bit, a different sound. But that one is a pretty straight ahead Americana country folk type number that we're proud to play on, and Josh brought that to the table, and it's a great song. But we actually also did a 7-inch vinyl.
Oh, wow.
Of a 7-inch single with Guess That's the Way You Say Goodbye is on one side, and Wish You Well is on the other side. Those are both on our album. So we have digital, vinyl, and CD, so we have it all covered.
No sooner than the moon hangs on the night.
The Trophy Mules' latest studio album, No Sooner Than the Moon, is available now on streaming platforms, and physical copies are available at the band's shows. For their concert calendar and more, visit thetrophymules.com. It's safe to call Mike Reel a viral St. Louis hip-hop artist. His collaboration with fellow STL rapper Flame, Hole 9, has racked up 1.2 million views on YouTube, and another music video of theirs, Catch Fire, is not far behind. The two enjoy working together so much that they even released an EP together called Revival in 2016. It's one of the numerous releases Mike Reel has put out since he began writing in 2006.
I want to talk a little bit about all these collaborations you've done with your pal Flame. You did the 2019 song Tesla. On that song, you mentioned you were a fan of his, and then you're a collaborator of his. How did that happen?
Man, so I actually went to school with a guy that went to his church. And he was like, man, you got to come to this church. You got to hear this guy named Flame. He's so dope. I was like, all right, cool. I'll come check him out. And I went, really enjoyed what I saw. And then, you know, being from the city, you know, I started rapping, and he heard about me, and he bought my first local CD. And since then, we just been in contact. And then, you know, he signed me a Clear Sight, and it was just like a dream come true, because I was like, I actually look up to you already, so it's kind of dope that we're connected in this way. So yeah, it was awesome.
Talk a little bit about that label, Clear Sight Music.
Yeah, so Clear Sight is a boutique label, as they would call it, but so it's not like a major label. But what Flame does is so unique, because I think for me, he's protected me from a lot of the industry wolves, sharks, so to say. So he's done a good job of keeping me informed while also keeping me shielded, and showing me that there is a way to run a business with full integrity.
You started rapping in 2006, is that right?
Yes.
And then by 2015, you have a full-length album out. But there's 9 years in there, and I'm curious what those 9 years were.
So when I started writing in 2006, I was super young, just something to do, because I really enjoyed hearing Flame and hearing artists like Ludacris and different things like that, and I just wanted to write, and I loved music so much, and so I began writing and stuff like that. But the recording part was where things started like, oh, okay, so there's an art to this, to putting songs together and doing things like that. And so I just had to really just learn that and build up. And then in St. Louis, we had a really unique scene where we had different outlets for Christian rappers to show off their talent and to be seen by other people, and then, you know, be not necessarily critiqued, but just to like, hey, this was dope, you should work on this. Or, hey, your performance was dope, maybe you should work on your content, you know, or your content's great, work on your performance. So it was good to build that up over the years. And then when I released my first full length with Clear Sight, you know, it was a long time coming. I released a local joint in 2007. Okay. And I think it was a really good project with a really nice guy named LeBeau. But yeah, it was just a lot of just building and growing for those.
Yeah, and you've grown pretty impressively. You're incredibly humble, I can already tell.
Appreciate it.
But you've racked up millions of views with these songs. What's that like?
It's unique, because music is one of those things where, especially if you're an artist that takes what you do seriously, and you try not to form your opinion based off others' opinion, then it gets difficult to say like, oh, yo, I put this out there into the world, and hopefully they like it, you know? And so it's always dope to hear back not just people saying, oh, I liked your music, but also people saying like, yo, your music saved my life. Your music kept me from this or saved me from that. And that's always the most unique thing, is it's not just the views, but it's how the views are being impacted by the music. And I think that's just something that's priceless.
Yeah, it is. Your most recent EP, S.O.S.
Yeah.
There's a song on it. I love the title, OJ's Theme, and there's a question mark.
Yeah.
Tell me lies, tell me what I wanna hear. See, but wife, you know how to discern. I gave more than what you deserve. I gave you advice, but you didn't learn. I wanted to serve, you gave me the curve. See, I thought you had my back. In the end, you couldn't face me. You ain't with me, boy, you did it. You just dancing while you miss me. Who was there to give you life? Who was there to give advice? Who you call on when your ex-girl is acting shite? But you lied, and I'm petty.
Shouts out to the Boom Squad. They produced the track, but all I had was a hook. All I had was just the words to the hook, and they built that track around it. And they just did a really good job of capturing the essence of the feeling of the song.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Of course, that's a reference to the 70s funk R&B group, the OJs.
Yep, the OJs, where a song they had called Backstabbers. And so I just had that song because, you know, I had a falling out with a friend, and that's just how I felt, just the raw feelings of how I felt. And I'm glad I was able to get that on wax.
And Swamp, another track on there, very aggressive song.
What do you want? Been in a low, low place, been in a swamp. Been in a cold, cold place, been in a slump. Been in a soft, soft place, straight from the jump. What do you
Yeah, Swamp is pure anger. And the idea just behind that is really, again, real feelings. Just about all the things that were going on in my head around the time when I was dealing with this depression after the fallout with my friend.
Yeah.
And you know, thoughts come in your head that aren't necessarily, you know, they're not all necessarily balanced ideas. Sometimes your brain goes into hyperbole, and it's like, you know what? Man, I'm gonna smack everybody in the, you know what I mean? But it's not that you're actually going to do it, but it's just how you feel.
All right, let's finish out the EP. Survive is another track on it.
It's one of my favorites, mainly because it deals a lot in what people do to survive. And on one particular part of the song, I talk about a young man that I met in a juvenile detention center, and I was performing there. And then afterwards, I got to talk to the kids and everything. It was dope. But one of the kids, his father had showed up to he was getting an appeal because he was great while he was in there. So they appealed his case to let him out, and his dad showed up and basically disowned him in front of everybody that was in the courthouse. And when he left, he had nobody to go. His mom was, you know, in the streets, and his dad didn't want anything to do with him. So he went back to an empty house. You know, he's a kid. He's like 12 or something like that. And you know, he was just left alone. And what he ended up doing was he robbed a convenience store to go back to the juvenile detention center, because that's where he felt. That's where he had a bed there. He had food there. He had friends. You know, everybody was nice to him. He felt love there that he didn't feel at home. And you know, at the end of the day, you may look at that and say, "Oh man, that's terrible. He shouldn't have done this to do this." But he was just doing what he had to do to survive. And so I think, you know, that song is just a really good way of expressing the idea of let's show grace to people, because a lot of people are just really doing what they need to survive. And so how can we help them? And how can we do more action as opposed to just words?
Mike Reel's latest single, Bussa Crown, and his most recent EP, S.O.S, are available now. For more information about our guest, visit clearsightmusic.com.
Well, that will do it for today's show. I want to give a big thank you to Corey Saathoff from the Trophy Mules and Mike Reel. My name is Ben Province, and I'm asking you to show me the music.